let's get started then, and as soon as you do, Tyler will start the timer.
All right. My name is Jules Todd, and this is my partner, Malaya. We are from Rio Mesa High School. We're juniors, and we will be presenting our prosthetic arm for the National Engineering and Design Challenge. So, we'll be going through the overview of our arm, the problem, our research behind it, creative process, prototype, our solution, budget, and our resources. So that's just a quick overview of what we're going through. And with this challenge to bring equity, we've created a robotic arm intended to be used by an amputee for a low cost. This will help them with their everyday lives without spending too much on a prosthetic. And you can see off to the left a picture of our prosthetic arm.
So for our problem, around 2.1 million people in the U.S. alone have an amputation, whether it be a major amputation or even something as small as a finger. Around 3% of the population has lost an upper extremity, which counts as anything from the shoulder below. And prosthetic limbs are around $17,000 just for the prosthetic itself, and that does not include hospital fees or physical therapy or anything like that. So for our research, around 54% of the U.S. population has an amputation, and only 3% of that 54 have an amputation, which is from an upper extremity. So there's a very low demand for major upper extremity amputations or prosthetics. And so with this, it leads to very low confidence in a prostheticist's skill to actually make a complex upper amputation, just because of all the fine motor skills there are with actually making a hand, and it can be very costly.
Most prosthetics actually end up being fingers or of lower limbs, such as your leg or your knee down. So because of the complexity with the muscles in our hands, and because of the complexity with just making prosthetics in general, as well as the cost, many prosthetic makers really don't like to make upper arm and upper extremity prosthetics for that reason. So we'll go through a bit of our creative process. In the top left, you can see our original vision for our design. And off to the right, you can see that we use the InMove open source arm as a base for our model. However, that is subject to change relatively soon, as we are working on a model that we've created for ourselves. And you can see off to the bottom left where we would like to improve on the InMove, such as improving grip, improving lateral movement or adduction of the palm, and adding mobility to the palm, as well as incorporating muscle sensors so that the arm actually responds to our touch. And Malaya will show us a bit of that later on.
Okay, so for our prototype, we actually have it here. So brief story. So our original prototype is from Gail Levine, who's a French sculptor, and he creates 3D, life-size 3D printed robots. And we decided to use his design just because it was an open source, and we wanted to have a base that would be easy to understand at first in order to figure out what we actually needed and how we wanted to create our own design. So his open source really just gave us a good starting point to work with. And so our solution was to create a very good functional and affordable prosthetic, which everyone will have easy access to. And we do plan to create our own version and have it be an open source for anyone to use once we actually get everything down and working how we want it to.
So we'll go through our budget. As you can see, our main cost was mostly the board and the algo kit, as well as the MyWare sensors. The servos also took up a substantial amount of our cost. We actually didn't end up using the board that came with our algo kit. We were actually donated an Arduino which Malaya can show you on the prototype. And most stuff you can get, most of the other stuff is relatively cheap. You can get it at Home Depot and they should last you a long time. Malaya can show us how the arm works. Malaya?
Okay. So we have right here, and it's connected to the breadboard, and this is our servo. And connected to my arm, I have a MyoWare sensor. So as you can see with the tape, if I flex my arm, it'll actually read and move the sensor as a result. So we're planning to use these sensors in order to actually move the fingers on our prosthetic arm.
So here are some extra pictures of our arm during our assembly, as well as the close-up of the servos, so you can see. We decided to use one servo for each finger. However, we may be adding or removing servos based on the placement of our muscle sensors. Here are just our resources, where we got the arm, and special thanks to Bob Berg, who actually provided us with a 3D printer in order for us to 3D print our arm. So, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the judges?
So, good job. Like it?
Same here. The arm really does look pretty impressive. And if you give us a few minutes to finish our scoring, we'll get back soon.
Thank you, student competitors. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording right now. At this moment, this concludes the portion of the NEDC competition. You guys are more than happy to take a break and then join us at